think that's the right button. I'm starting to get the hang of this stuff again. There Will Be Banter returns. We are sans Kristina, the world's greatest defense reporter, because she is busy doing other things, probably taking down that Christmas tree finally. But we still have the Australian eye candy, Ben Bridge. How are you, sir?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I am wonderful. Got a little Stag Junior over here, a little batch 14 new release, Buffalo Trace.
Cheers.
And then
Happy Australia Day.
Oh yeah, happy Australia Day. We'll get right to that. And then also we have the lovable, gun-toting liberal Veronika. How are you, ma'am?
I'm really good. This is my designated drinking night. I'm trying to cut back on drinking. I'm doing a little bit of a cut right now, so I made sure that it fell on today.
Story of my life. Been trying to cut. Yeah. Woo. The other funny thing was,
it's a good drinking night. We need to cheers this because V got some very amazing news today. After 5 years of fighting to get out of a certain organization, she's got good news. So here's to
conditional release from the National Guard.
The 368 was signed.
Finally, yeah.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Holy shit! And
5 years. It took 5 years.
That's called. There is a word for that. But anyway, so before we get into that, Ben totally derailed my train of thought. Actually, blew a fucking bomb in the track. So I don't even know what the hell I was gonna say. So that's how we're going. That's how the night's starting. Yeah,
God. I'm sorry, dude.
I don't know. I don't know.
Can we just collectively take a moment of silence to appreciate how long 2021 has been already, and it's the fucking 28th of January.
Bro, I have made 98% on my cryptocurrency buy this morning, so I am killing it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not. I just thought it was funny to partake in a little Wall Street anarchy. But that's not what we're going to talk about, because you guys are just super motivated to talk about the destruction of the Proud Boys and the bringing down of, what's that dude's name? The snitch?
Enrique Tarrio.
Thank you. I wanted you to say that. Okay. But before you go on to that, and it's cool. I just I read this article about him on the Reuters, and I just want to know if this is an actual charge or if this is something they just put in the article to, I don't know, make you feel bad. It says he was arrested for possessing 2 high-capacity magazines. I got that. That's a crime there. And burning a Black Lives Matter banner. That's a crime? What's the crime?
I don't know.
What if you burn this There Will Be Bourbon painting, picture, whatever the hell this thing is back here, that is criminal in my household. Because but I didn't know that you can't burn a Black Lives Matter banner, or any banner for that reason. It's a banner. Doesn't mean anything.
I'm assuming that it was probably something else like public endangerment or something, because as we all know,
that's not what they wrote. It's not what they wrote.
I know, but that's journalistic license to make sure that there's a bit more punch in the article. Agreed. So I feel like more punch in the article.
The article was
I feel like the act of him burning the banner, they probably used some other charge to scoop him up on, because as you all know, they tried to pass the Flag Act years ago to make it illegal to burn the US flag in this country. It never passed. Right. So if it's not a crime to burn the US flag,
that's
then
my point.
I don't see that there is a crime specifically in burning the banner of Black Lives Matter. So like I said, it was probably some bizarre fire code. If you dug into it deep, would be my guess.
All right, so before Veronika goes off, hold on one second, Veronika. So the guy's name is Enrique, what? How you say his last name?
Tarrio.
Yeah, so I had an opportunity to have him on the podcast before the election, which I
should have asked him why he's such a fucking snitch.
I didn't. I wouldn't want to talk to him about that. But I did turn that down, so I guess I'm happy about that. I felt like it was a good decision to not have him on. But anyway, it wouldn't have been the first criminal on. You're on.
First off, I didn't get caught or charged, so be better. Be best. I don't know what to say.
Be best. All right, so why is this a big deal, Veronika? What do you think?
So the big deal in so looking at everything as in a big picture.
Yeah.
So Enrique Tarrio was apparently brought up on charges and, prosecuted for fraud in Miami in like 2000, I believe in 2012, right? So 2014, he becomes an informant and helps turn over a bunch of people for like fraud, smuggling, human trafficking, and like gambling or something, right? So
fraudulent diabetes test kits. That's
right.
Woo.
So he's helping with all this stuff, and then becomes the leader of the Proud Boys through this entire thing in 2018, right? So he becomes the poster child for the Proud Boys, which if you read, I know everybody has their opinion on this, but facts are facts. The Department of Homeland Security and the FBI, along with several other intel organizations, have warned about the rise of white supremacist groups and how they pose a danger to national security and overall, like their threat to what we are as a country, who we are as a people, right? And just basically their propensity for violence, for calls to violence. And we saw that in several rallies. Again, this seems to be like a divergence of opinions, but this is what the intelligence communities are reporting. So what's really interesting to me, and fuck all of the opinions on anything, right? What's fucking hilarious to me is that this guy's the poster child for the Proud Boys. And the reason that all of this stuff came back up is because he's now being looked into for the Proud Boys' involvement in the Capitol riots.
Right.
So when all of this stuff got scooped up by Reuters and all of the court documents, it turns out that this guy's been an informant forever. And he's like, I don't remember helping. I know nothing about that. Like, this never happened, right? So he's feigning ignorance, which, cool, whatever. I would too if a bunch of people just found out that I was a fucking snitch. So it's one of two things, right? So either this poster boy for the Proud Boys is not this wholesome, like, well-to-do person, which just goes down an entire other fucking avenue of irony when it comes to bringing up people's pasts and condemning them for like police violence and brutality, which is the reason that the entire Black Lives Matter movement really caught traction. Because hey, regardless of what the fuck color of your what the color of your skin is, your right as an American is due process and being, going through the legal process, right? Being judged by a jury of your peers, going through the entire thing, not being fucking judge and jury killed on the goddamn street corner by cops. So that's a whole other thing. Or the alternative to this is the fact that this dude's been working for the FBI to snitch on Proud Boys. So either way, this dude is like he's an incredibly fucked position in either way you slice it. It's
depending on how far you go down the research rabbit hole, you could find a lot of statistics that support that most of these organizations, if not all of them, are infiltrated by undercover police and informants as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
they are, right? So like,
it's good business. If you can't bring them all completely down, you might as well at least figure out what they're doing.
Well, right. But that is how they figure out how they're doing. And this is what people don't realize, because it doesn't get reported enough, because it happens pretty often, right?
Yeah.
But in the intel community, we're constantly briefed about how, X, Y, and Z soldier tried to sell information to China or to Russia or to whatever, right? Because they think they found somebody on like some fucking shady corner of Reddit or 9gag or whatever the fuck, wherever it is that they find these people.
9gag, what's that one? Is that new?
Oh my God, are you serious? That's like
I don't know the sub shit.
Oh man, I'll
yeah, I'm a mainstreamer.
Don't
do it. All right, I don't want to do it then.
Yeah, you'll end up on a list somewhere and you'll have to scrub your computer. It's gonna be bad.
All right, stay away from that one.
But you get these people that constantly try to sell like government secrets or sell information to like foreign countries and foreign entities. And the ones that people think are like Edward Snowden and Chelsea Manning. No, you get like average dudes that are caught doing this shit all the time, all year long. Like it's not uncommon for people to get caught up by people posing as by informants, by people posing as the other side. So like, oh yeah, I'm a Chinese diplomat and I'm here to buy your information. They meet this dude in a hotel room, the next thing they get fucking rolled up.
Yeah, the girl that was just over there with the California rep recently. Fong,
Oh,
Fang,
darn it.
whatever her name was.
I
What?
don't even know what.
Oh, you have to know this.
There's so
All right, keep
many,
going.
dude.
I'll find it.
There's so many.
I'll send it to you.
But yeah, so that's what was interesting to me is that this dude I don't I find it really interesting, like the irony for me is people idolizing other people based on, again, right, like an organization, while demonizing another organization for the exact same thing. Like the Proud Boys, like anything else, is gonna have a mixed bag of people. Some of them really are just good old boys, patriots. They think they're there for the right reasons, and then you get your fucking batshit crazy extremists.
That
And
infiltrate.
unfortunately, the extremists are the fucking loud ones
Yeah.
that tend to make a scene and give everybody a bad rap, right? So it's the same thing with BLM. It's the same thing with fucking hockey fans. It's the same thing.
Soccer fan. Soccer is
fan.
what you meant to say, yeah.
No, dude, y'all white people get super pissed when your team loses, and you'll set cities on fire. It's insane.
It's not just like, white people that get mad about sports teams losing.
White people losing sports.
It's everyone who loses. Look, football fans will riot. Yes, they will burn cities down, but they are not just white people doing that. It's everybody. It's everybody. Everybody gets mad about the color of their laundry losing a football game.
So you just have to look back at the World Cup when it was in Brazil. There was a massive shit fight with FIFA forcing them to serve alcohol, even though the country had banned the service of alcohol in the stadiums because of the number of deaths that came into it. So they were like, well, if you want the World Cup, bro, you've got sober. Well, that's the point. FIFA didn't want them watching it sober because it was going to ruin their bottom line. So guess what happened when the World Cup was in Brazil? People died because they were drunk and like throwing bottles and shit. So, yeah, good times.
Yeah, so
look here, I just want to point this out. No, the number one city, and I know it's everybody that does this shit, but just to throw a little fire on your or a little liquor on your fire, make it a little bigger right here, right? So Philadelphia, the one city known for being the worst fans on earth, at least on the East Coast, who literally throw batteries and boo Santa Claus, who real riot over anything. That city's only 35% white, Veronica. So everyone is participating. It's not just white people. It's everybody.
I should point out at this time that my mother and my aunts all hail from Philly. So
there's only 13% Latino, though. Oh,
just
not you.
Just shitting on my family heritage here.
It's 36% white in the city, 100% violence when it comes to sports.
I know. That's what I said. Everyone's doing. And then Oakland, we can go across to Oakland, which is Philly West when it comes to degenerate fan bases.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just saying.
I'm just
people hate to lose. People hate to lose. It's not even a sports thing. It's just people our DNA is to compete and survive. And the only thing we really take it out on anymore is sports, because if we lose, who likes to fucking lose? Veronica, I know already you're one of the most competitive people that's on this chat at this point. Do you think you want to suck in the fucking gym? You want to lose? You want some girl who's the same size as you to be stronger? No, you're going to be fucking angry because I've seen it. I've seen it.
I'm not going to outlive her, though. I'm old and broken now. I'm just going to fucking stab her.
Yeah, but you still think you can.
Level the playing field.
Exactly. So you wait behind her little shower tent in zone 6 and you kneecap her. I understand how this works. It's cool. She can't lift for 6 months trying to rehab. It's cool. Got it.
Exactly.
But only women do that, right? That's me just saying only women do that because guys don't. We don't care. I know Ben. I can just look at Ben and know he's stronger than me. That's fine. I'm not going to try and hurt him. But you guys, you'll sit there and do some nefarious shit in the shadows.
Speaking of sport, on a totally fucked up somber note, like
I'm just
ranting. This whole domestic violence thing that's going on again is fucking sad. The Seahawks player, and I'm blanking out on his name now.
I just looked it up, so I got you. No worries.
Go ahead, do it. Send it.
His name is Chad Wheeler.
So this dude choked the fuck. So I was reading the story and obviously the police report that came out and how he supposedly had a bipolar episode and had stopped taking
off his medication shit.
Yeah, and according to the woman's testimony or her sworn statement, he had asked her to bow down to him or something. She's like, no. and he choked the fuck out of her till she passed out. She came to again, and then he choked her back out.
Yeah,
And then I
like
guess
she
she tried
reportedly
crawling.
said that like when she came to, he said, "You're alive."
Yeah, you're still
Yeah,
alive.
some crazy shit like
And
that. Like
so then I
that's
guess when
clearly
she
some
tried,
dude that's not in their right mind.
right, and then so I guess she tries crawling away. He grabs her by the arm, ends up breaking her elbow, and like,
He's a
completely
large
fucking
fucking
up.
dude.
Yeah, and then like proceeds to beat the fuck out of her in the bathroom. But she like manages to get into the bathroom, and I guess like texts her family, please call 911. Texts his dad, you know, please help me.
Yeah.
And from outside the door, she reports hearing him like on the phone. She assumes with the dad and be like, "No, I'm good, just chilling." Like completely playing it off while she's
Fucking
bleeding in the
crazy.
bathroom.
It's fucking
Yeah,
insane.
so the cops show up. He's like standing over her. They fucking tase him. He's
Well,
like, I love you. I'm not a woman beater. Like, so he's facing like 8 to 12 years in prison, right, for this whole thing. If he's charged.
that's crazy to me that that's all it is, but I get it. But no, Ben, because I wanted to ask you this, and I don't know. I'm not assuming your sports participation, but I wanted to make this correlation, and I haven't really looked too far into it, so I'm not going to pretend that I'm like, well, that's the solution. But a lot of the issues that they're trying to tie this to are brain trauma, right? TBIs, et cetera, stuff that comes from years and years of playing football with helmets. And if you go back and watch the evolution of the NFL and football in America, they didn't always have helmets like this. And they also didn't always tackle the way they do and use the helmet as a weapon. And I know they've recently tried to legislate that out of the game, but people still tackle and hit other players with the knowledge that they know I got this fucking helmet on my head and I can get away with a lot more stuff than when you go back and look at, like I said, early players, all they had was something on their head. It was a little leather cap and they had their face. Like they tackled a lot more smartly. They didn't just dive headfirst into people. And the reason I'm like to bring it back to what I was trying to say to Ben is I don't know if because there's Australian rules football, there's rugby, there's these things where these people still have full contact and they do not have the injuries, number one, that we see in the NFL. And I don't know if there's the level of violence or any of the stuff that they've tried to, maybe it just doesn't get reported because it's not as popular, but I don't remember hearing any like mainstream story of something like this being tied to or attributed to a rugby or an Australian rules football player. And I don't know if that's true or not. I just know what I've read or seen.
I think a couple of things. So you're right. So AFL is still rough, and obviously both rugby league and rugby union, they're both full contact sports.
Right.
But if you want to play, particularly say union, which has a scrum where everyone packs in and they engage and they're pushing in. So if you screw that up, that's it. Your neck's gone. There's a whole bunch of build up to make sure that happens. And they also police things very hard, like spear tackles. So you make a good tackle on someone, happy days, but you're hitting them kind of between chest and junk basically. And as long as you don't pick them up and then spear them into the ground, you're fine. So there's massive hits in rugby and AFL, but you're not making contact with head, and you're definitely not dropping. And you see this all the time, like the receivers in the air in NFL or whatever, and they get their legs taken out and they're spinning around like a top, and then that's it. Their head's in the dirt, and that's another thing. Like they're still playing when the ground's frozen, whereas in UK and other places where they play in winter, that's the case. Not so much in Australia because we don't tend to get a lot of frozen ground. So there's that issue of tackling for one.
Well, a lot of the football fields that you're mentioning, they do have heaters underneath the fields. The pro teams do at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say college or high school. But yeah, I see. That's a good point too, though.
And the other part of that is, and this is one of the reasons why I don't like watching American football, is because there's not a lot of actual play. The whistle goes and then they run and smash into each other and they stop. Whereas you watch rugby union, rugby league, or AFL, they've constantly got to go. So they can't just sprint as hard as they want and spear tackle a dude into the ground and then do a dance and then have a break. They've got to keep running the ball forward. So it's a very different game style. So that's one part of it. And then at least in Australia, there has been a much widely publicized campaign, probably going back 10 or 15 years, about domestic violence in Australia. So they have a thing called White Ribbon Day. I can't remember what day it's on, but it's a national, not a holiday, but it definitely attracts time in terms of work. So like I was in units where we would do a walk. So you'd join up as part of the community, you'd all, throw a white ribbon on, and you'd walk from point A to point B, and there'd be some local politician having a speech. So White Ribbon Day in Australia is a big deal. So they've been shining a light on domestic violence in Australia for a lot longer, and there are still cases of sportsmen who do fucking terrible things to their partners. Yeah. But when it happens now, it's not swept under the rug. Those dudes get pretty much they're done from that day. As soon as there's a suggestion of it, that's it. They're not playing until it gets resolved. So you see football players who beat on their girlfriends or wives or whoever, and it's in the press the next day, and they're not running on for the weekend game.
Yeah, so and we haven't really seen. Yeah, we haven't seen something to the extent of that until there's been video evidence of it, right? Obviously, the Ray Rice incident years ago is what kind of sparked the NFL to wake up and do some change, because there's a video. You can, if it's just he said, she said, and it's an article from a local newspaper article or something. Yeah, you can sit there and debate all you want, but when you have the video evidence of it, it's hard for you to turn the back, right? But we've still seen it in pro football, and I'm saying domestic violence is an issue regardless, sports or not, okay? But we can clearly attribute it to the fact that there's got to be some correlation to the head trauma, because the other professional sports, you just don't see it on this scale. And I'm not going to pretend that it doesn't happen. I know it does, but it just doesn't on the level of the NFL. And I get it. There's more NFL players than other sports. But also, we also see the willingness, especially in pro football, and it's in other sports as well, whatever legal history you have or legal issues you find yourself in, if you have talent, you're still going to get a chance to play. We saw it with Greg Hardy of the Cowboys. Now he's been finally washed out of the NFL, but now he's a UFC fighter. And every time he fights, I just want the worst thing to possibly happen to him, because he's a fucking shitbag. But he's given a chance to still make a ridiculous sum of money just based on the fact that he's an athlete and nothing more. And I would hardly call him a good UFC fighter, but he's there every week, showing up and getting paid. But still, the problem in NFL or in pro sports in America is if you have talent, they're always willing to overlook all the other issues.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the thing, is that the codes have sold out, and you just have to see that last year when it came down to a choice between sucking up to China or,
Veronika and I talked about that, I believe.
Yeah. So it's not, I mean, NFL, I feel like is exacerbated in terms of domestic violence cases, and, that people are looking at the link to CTE now, but they're not the only code in America that's willing to cover up shitty behavior by their players because they're worth so much money. So
I think that's the question and the concern for me, though, right? Like, so you fire these guys and then what? Like, they're showing out, right? So but that's the thing. So if we're looking at CTE, and I'm going to so for those of you guys who don't know, it's like CTE, and I'm going to completely butcher it, is basically like brain damage essentially from head trauma.
Right.
And they see it more often than not with football players because of the amount of poundings that they take from playing high school football, college football, and then the NFL. And it became really, I can't remember the name of the two football players, but there were two older guys that were really making a huge push for CTE to be researched. And then it wasn't until Aaron Hernandez hung himself and died, and then his body was actually examined by
he was totally fucked. Junior Seau was the same way.
Yeah, and so Aaron Hernandez's brain essentially was donated to research, and they ended up finding that he had the worst case of CTE of somebody his age ever.
Yeah, that documentary was insane.
Yeah, and they're finding more and more that not only of athletes now that are passing away, or anybody with like a history of playing football, they're finding that the majority, like something like over 90% of these guys have some form of CTE, if not like it's like stage 1 through 3, right? And some of the biggest issues with CTE based on the severity is decision making skills, aggression, impulse control, emotional volatility, and rage behavior.
Yeah.
Right. So like if these guys are, and I'm not dismissing, like I'm gonna just fucking disclaimer, not dismissing domestic violence. Like I've been in abusive relationships, so I don't even want to, like, I'm not even fucking making an excuse for it. But looking at this from a purely medical standpoint, based on circumstances and context, if these guys are highly volatile and aggressive and violent because of the profession that they're in, right?
Right. Yeah,
As
you
a
kind of
side
have
effect,
to
as
have
a
a
symptom,
yeah.
right? As a side effect or as a symptom of the profession that they're in, like what is the correct and the humane and appropriate course of action to make sure that these guys get the help that they need? Because just firing them and putting them out on the streets doesn't solve the issue, right? Like eventually the NFL needs to take some responsibility that, hey, this is a byproduct of the sport that we play, of the entertainment that we provide, and the fucking money that we're bringing into these stadiums to fund our organization and to play this shit on Sunday night. Like,
well, I mean,
where does the responsibility?
The players have been fighting this with the NFL for decades in terms of just health insurance for the players after they're no longer a part of it, because football is an inherently violent game. And the higher you get up in level, where you got guys bend size and bigger, just literally beating the hell out of themselves every play, that's going to wear and tear on people who are fortunate enough to play 10, 15 years in the league. And by the time they get to 50 years old, they've got some serious fucking issues. There's a very few amount that are able to walk away. And you know what? Your boyfriend's in a certain part of the military. Ben, you've probably seen this. Guys who stay in those special operations communities, or the guys who do combat arms for 20 years and retire or some longer, those dudes are fucked up by the end of that career. It's the same with football, and someone's got to take care of them. And a lot of the times, but that's what the NFL has been fighting. Like, dude, this isn't just $1 billion business. This is a multi-billion-dollar business. And they've been fighting them just to pay basic health insurance for years. And they still just fight goes on.
There was one incident that really stood out for me, and I just had to Google it because I couldn't remember the dude's name, but it was back in 2011. Junior Seau.
That's what I mentioned. Junior Seau. Yeah.
So he texted his family and said, "Hey, make sure someone studies my brain, because I haven't been right for years." And then he committed suicide by shooting himself in the heart to make sure that his brain was intact, so they could study
literally
it.
The nicest human being ever.
He knew that his brain wasn't right from getting beaten up for,
and that guy was
15, 20 years of playing. And that was 2011.
What he was also known for. He was known for just hitting people hard. Like, he was a great player. Obviously, he's all pro, he's a Hall of Famer, but that's what he was known for. Like, literally physically imposing his will on other players. Like, it was always with his head.
And that's the reason the Aaron Hernandez thing and his brain was actually researched. He really opened that door, and unfortunately, like, through his sacrifice, right, like paved that road in 2012 for Hernandez to be researched and studied as well. So I find it really disheartening, right, that we have this organization that's like, we care about people, and now they're starting to like take a stance for their black athletes, and like, bro, you're not even fucking taking care of them when they leave the fucking field. Like,
that is true. That is funny. I don't want to see slogans on the back of helmets and shit. I'd rather just see, give us healthcare. Something as basic as that. How about we just take care of the players with healthcare?
Or maybe just
don't try and end racism, something that you're not going to do as an organization. But you know what you can do? You can take care of the fucking players who play your game.
Take care of these fucking people that provide your billion-dollar industry and pay for your fucking yachts and all your other bullshit. Like,
and maybe pull them aside before they run on and say, "Hey, fellas, quick safety brief. When you're celebrating a touchdown, don't smash your helmet against your buddy's helmet repeatedly. That's not good for either of your brains. Maybe just save the helmet knocking for the tackle."
Ben, you probably don't remember this, and Veronika, you probably definitely don't. Veronika, I don't think you would either. You'd have been too young. But there's a Washington. Well, they were the Redskins. Now they're the Washington football team. But once upon a time, this guy, Gus Frerotte, if you look this up, He scores a touchdown. He's a quarterback for Washington. Scores a touchdown, and he goes and headbutts the wall in the end zone. It's a padded wall, and the dude literally like fucked his neck up to the point where he couldn't play anymore. That season, he came back, but and he was like the future of them at quarterback, and he never had another shot from that point on again because he just he fucked his own head up and neck by oh look, I got a helmet. I can do whatever I want because I have a helmet. Like, come on, man.
The spinal compression is
exactly.
Like, what do you?
I tell you what, going through jump school, that fucking helmet did nothing. Every day I was concussed as fuck from just rolling around the mat.
Ask every soldier that gets blown up in a fucking mat. Did that helmet help? No, it doesn't. It doesn't do shit. Like, impact and shock don't fucking go away when you get hit. Like, so it's just like, and I feel. And obviously, I don't know the specific case with, the Seahawks player, but that's kind of just the whole, that's what the rabbit.
It's just the latest, unfortunately. Now, it's just the latest.
Yeah, but it's so commonplace now, right? Like domestic violence and
not even a shock anymore. It's just it's another story.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's frustrating is that it's not. We're kind of just like, oh man, just some piece of shit dude beating a lady. Like, don't get me wrong, there are piece of shit dudes and piece of shit women that beat their spouses.
Yeah.
Like. They're on both sides of that aisle. They exist, right? There are women out there that abuse the shit out of men. Like, fuck those ladies too. But in this specific case, right, when it comes to the NFL, I feel like contextually there's definitely a lot more going on that needs to be studied and talked about and taken seriously if the life of this sport is going to continue, because these athletes are fucking suffering.
Yeah, and there's always, there's the running joke. There's some people who've legitimately proposed it, former players and all, but they've talked about going back to where removing the face mask at least. I think Mike Ditka, Hall of Famer, former player and everything, he's talked about removing the face mask so they don't feel this inherent safety with a helmet to just go full speed into another grown man and hit them with their head. Because like I said, if you go back and watch the way people tackle, and like Ben described in Australian rules football or rugby, they tackle a very specific way, and it's not with their fucking head. Because it's for obvious reasons. Like, it's called, we have this joke in football, like, hey, if you miss a tackle or you don't want to tackle somebody bigger than you, you olay it a little bit, and it's a business decision, right? You're making a business decision to not get fucking trumped. So it's the same thing. If you have this protective entity on you that you feel almost invincible with, yes, you're going to use it to hit people with. You see it every weekend.
I'm sure the cocaine doesn't help.
All right, I'm not going to talk about the cocaine. I'm just saying, and I don't know if that's the solution. And I know everyone makes the joke because they've legislated so much out of the defensive side of football lately that they're like, oh, why don't they just give them flags and let them play flag football? I don't know. Maybe that's what it'll be in 20, 30 years. I don't know. People will still watch the best do the best at stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
if you just have a look at rugby. I mean, if you applied the same basic principles to tackling that rugby union has, you just have to look at, all of the national teams, particularly the All Blacks. Those boys are fucking massive, and they still smash each other.
And they don't wear pads, right? No pads.
I mean, some of them do. And if you watch them, some of them wear headgear, but they're not wearing headgear because it protects their head. They're protecting their ears in
kind of like wrestling.
Because otherwise they get massive cauliflower ears. So if you watch guys with the headgear on, or they've got the tape around their head, it's literally to stop their ears getting rocked up in the scrum. So it's not like, oh, that guy's wearing a helmet. It's not. Those things are not really well padded. But it just go and watch like a Bledisloe Cup game from last year or whatever. They're not soft tackling. They're huge 400-pound gorillas.
I like to watch that stuff in bars, but I can't right now.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Who doesn't? I mean, even though every time the Wallabies play the All Blacks, we seem to lose since I was a boy, but.
Sounds like you're almost like me as a Bears fan, just every time they play, if I can lose. See, this is how we can come together. We can cry over our sports teams and we can burn down cities. Yeah. Come on, Veronika.
My boyfriend's a Lions fan, so I guess.
Oh, man, he's even worse. That poor guy. Damn. Why did he do that to himself?
I don't know.
I would love to talk to him just to be like, look, man, I'm a Bears fan, but even I understand your pain, and I will never.
Hey, you know what?
At least the Eagles won a Super Bowl, in the last couple of years. So
go Philly. All I'm gonna say is I appreciate his loyalty to absolute shit shows.
Exactly. See, that's
why our relationship is gonna work.
You know he's loyal. You know he's fucking loyal. That's right. If you can be a Lions fan, if you can date a Lions fan, that's loyalty right there. I had one last thing to say on that, and I don't even remember what it was at this point because I'm still blaming it all on Ben for destroying my train of thought earlier. Oh, that was what it was. So the other day, I just did a podcast with a girl who talks about a lot of the people she's been able to help remove from abusive relationships this recently. And I think, Veronika, you brought this up, though. Not only is this still going on in sports or in the NFL and everything, but it's probably being compounded more just based on the fact that over the last year, we've been in this shutdown.
Yep.
Now you're not hearing about it, but you know what's going on. And they can try and silence that in the media or not underreported or whatever. But yeah, and her husband is a police officer, and she talked about how the stuff that he's responding to from an domestic violence standpoint is significantly higher, and that's just one cop. So let's go ahead.
Same for kids. Like I remember reading an article soon after lockdown started happening, April, May timeframe last year, about the number of at-risk children who are way worse off because now, at least when they went to school for 8 hours, caught the bus and had teachers and stuff around, they actually got a break from either their arsehole mum or their arsehole dad or both. Yeah. And now they just couldn't get out. So, poor fucking kid can't leave the house.
Exactly. That's why I mentioned that to her as well. We're going to have a significant portion, juniors and seniors over the last 2 years, who they're never going to have normal school experiences going forward. And who, maybe college will eventually return, but that part of their lives, they're never getting that shit back. Like, you don't get to go be a junior or a senior in high school again. You don't get to see your friends again in that situation. You don't get to be around those people every day again like you're used to. And how people adjust to that, like, we can all, come on, you got to toughen up. I don't know, because I know my daughter, I know she likes it. And I know the way I was as a kid, I wouldn't have cared. But there are people that are not like me, and they're not like her. And there are people that really thrive on that day-to-day interaction. And you take that away from them, you do all this virtual shit, and who knows how they're going to be when they're fucking 30, 10 years from now. You know what I mean?
If you don't force me to go to class at a certain time and listen and read a textbook, it ain't fucking getting done. Like, me and online learning are not powers at all. Like, I did one subject last year, and I was constantly like starting my shit an hour to deadline and just scraping over the line. So there's no 4.0 GPA for me. It was like
fucking shitbag, bro. That's what.
I don't know. Whatever the bare minimum was to pass, that is exactly what I was aiming for and hitting the mark every time. So yeah. Fucking
classic underachieving Australia. You guys could have been something, but
I don't know, man. They have all the animals that want to kill us the most.
That's true. But also, think about it this way, like, and I talked about this, we may have already mentioned it, but that wasn't even a conceivable strategy, Ben, when you and I were in high school. You know what I mean? Like, you couldn't just say, if this was going on, like there's a pandemic, everyone just stay home. Just do it virtually. There was no such thing. We had AOL. We had fucking dial-up modems that would freeze.
You assholes having to go get your fucking AOL disc.
Fuck no. I didn't get a computer until I was a senior. Like, what would I have done? I couldn't have done this shit. You know what I mean? And so,
sorry, I can't do
my first computer I bought after I joined the army, because I needed it for doing bullshit reports, and the army didn't have enough fucking computers. So my first two jobs,
we got too many, and none of them work.
I brought my own computer to work. That's how fucking poor we were.
Yeah, sounds about right. But yeah, like I said, now we got too many, and none of them work, and we're still using Windows from like 2004, whatever. Lethality. But hey, now Veronika can wear a ponytail whenever she wants, so that's cool. And I can paint my nails.
You know what? Talk all the shit that you want. You still need
only clear. I want to make sure that you know that.
You still need me to fix the computers you two fucking gorillas break. So
that's true. Well, I can't even get someone to fix the computer. Bulb. Submit a treble ticket.
I can't speak for California. I can't speak for California.
Jesus Christ.
The whole state needs to be turned off and on back again. It's awful. You guys need a whole fucking reset.
Hey, the good news is we have a dinner reservation tomorrow night because we're allowed to do that again. Outdoors, of course.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Lord Newsom, for allowing me to have some freedom. Please throw me a piece of cake. Thank you.
Let them eat cake.
Yes, let them eat cake. I get to eat cake tomorrow. All right, kids. Remember, you may not think like us, but you probably think like one of us. Hopefully not like the Australian chewed bubble gum. But we will see you next week, hopefully with Kristina.
Someone's
back.
still butthurt about being the bourbon pixie.
Shouldn't I be
Unfortunate.
butthurt about that? You just call me a bourbon pixie as you introduce me to a new, uneven known peer, and I get referred to as the bourbon pixie. Did you know that, Veronica? Did you know he did that? He introduced me to
No.
Carrie, and he referred to me as the bourbon pixie, which
It
I'm cool
fits,
with.
come
I actually
on.
think it's funny, but you know what? I will refer to him now as no longer Australian eye candy. He's Australian chewed bubblegum. I can play that game. I can be
Okay.
insulting. I can be petty. Veronica knows.
Oh, petty's my favorite color. I'm here for
I'm
it.
I'm
I
I'm
live
gonna
for
get I'm
petty.
gonna get you a new poster for the background that just says bourbon pixie.
Get it made. I'll put it right up here. I promise you.
Yeah,
Perfect.
control.
We'll see you next week, kids. Bye.
Bye.